For the bad movies by great directors this time, I chose How Do You Know? It came out in 2010 by, it was directed by James L. Brooks. And first impressions, I really liked the lineup of actors that were in it. I thought, Paul Rudd, Owen Wilson, Jack Nicholson, really good actors, famous people. Now, for my thoughts on it, I do think this movie was bad because it took Lisa so long to just realize that George was the one for her. And she was playing around all these games with Maddie, who was an athlete, had a lot of money, meathead, stupid, didn't really care what she had to say, where George was going through his own stuff, obviously in legal trouble, and to the point where he was facing jail time. And I just think that they understood each other a lot. He cared what she had to say, and she didn't even really know the full story of what he was going through. He put his feelings aside for her the whole time, and that's just basically my opinions on it. I think they took way too long to get to the point. And, that's pretty much just my first impressions, is that this is a 2-hour movie when it could have just been, after that first date, they both could have realized that they were for each other. George realized once he talked to Annie that, he wanted her, and then things just kind of worked out in the elevator. She's living with Maddie, and George was going to see his dad. They met up, kind of reconnected, stuff like that. Artistically, I think that James L. Brooks was just trying to just show that, find the person out there for you that, is that can relate to you and that cares about what you have to say. Because George was willing to put everything aside that he was going through and cared about what she was going through, and actually cared about Lisa the whole time. And I think that, I thought it was executed all right. Like I said, it took way too long to get to the point when, even from the beginning, I guess kind of when, after the elevator scene, I felt like she could have realized that, Maddie doesn't really care about what's going on in her life. He just wanted her to be just into him when he was going out and doing things with other girls, saying it anonymously, stuff like that. Where I just think that where George wasn't seeing anyone, just recently dumped, and he felt like they were good for each other and that they worked together. And no, I do not think it's a bad idea for the movie. I think it's good. I think that a lot of people that are, going through struggles in times like this, deciding on whether a person in their life is the right person to keep going with, to keep continuing, I think that it can show them and help them see, like, maybe this person, doesn't care for my best interests. Maybe I don't relate to this person well, stuff like that, versus, or maybe, like, this person's really treating me well, maybe they are the person for me. I think that that's, definitely a good way to look at it through that perspective. I think overall from the film, I think what could have been done better in it is, honestly, like I've just kept saying, or I've said, is I think that throughout this film, James L. Brooks could have just, made the message more clear that Lisa that George was for her, as George was constantly trying. He was telling Annie about her, and even had mentioned it to his father, who really didn't care much when he said that he met a girl. He was more caught up in the legal trouble, which, I do understand, but he was telling people about her, saying, I think I met this girl and I really like her, versus where Lisa didn't really, I guess she didn't really show many signs of liking George like that. And, that's pretty much where I would have improved the film, in my opinion. And what worked for me in the film was honestly just, I feel like having the whole Annie aspect really helped. She's basically a single mom going through it, about to have a baby, and she was just worrying about everything else in her life. And she was really, worried about George. And I think that just her and the conversation that her and Al had in the hospital, that, George kind of forgot to get on camera, of him engaging to her. I think that really showed Lisa that, what, maybe this George guy is the guy for me. And I think that really worked. I feel like that speech really changed the whole dynamic of the movie, because up to that point it seemed like she didn't really care much about it. And then for me to improve the film, I honestly, I'm on George's side, obviously, not Maddie's side. I would have, after that first date, I would have had them, seeing each other a little more, going out together, and, figuring their issues out with each other, because I feel like that would work a lot better. But again, I feel like it wouldn't make for as an interesting film. I did enjoy watching it, but it was kind of hard watching some of the decisions that Lisa was making with both of it, or with both Maddie and George. But overall, I enjoyed watching it, but I wasn't a huge fan of it, even though it did turn out good for George and Lisa in the end, because they both found what they wanted in each other, I guess, towards the end. But yeah, those are really just my thoughts on it. And yeah.